Okay, what if everything we think is permanent? Things like nations, money, even the classic family structure, what if that wasn't the end of the story for humanity? Today, we're going to unpack a pretty wild and detailed blueprint for a totally new kind of civilization, a vision for where we could be headed from the mid-21st century on.
So, where does an idea of this big even start? Well, it begins with something I think we all kind of feel in our gut. Our world is just getting unbelievably complex. You look at our technology, our global economy, our institutions, everything is getting more and more tangled and intricate. But here's the catch, the big paradox this whole vision is trying to solve. For all of that amazing progress and complexity, are we actually any happier? The source material argues, not really. Conflict, anxiety, a really deep sense of being disconnected, it's all still here. We've got more stuff than ever, but it's created this kind of inner emptiness. And that's exactly why what we're about to look at isn't just about small fixes or little policy changes. No, this is a vision for a complete top-to-bottom reinvention of how human society works. So before we can get to the solution, we have to really get our heads around the problem. What's the diagnosis here? What exactly is this vision trying to fix?
What's so interesting is how it frames the issue. It's not just one thing. It's what the source calls a set of converging crises. You've got the planet being out of balance, our social fabric fraying, and this deep personal crisis of meaning. It's that paradox again. Our tech gets better, we get richer, but our happiness just doesn't keep up. We have all this material abundance, but on the inside, a whole lot of emptiness.
All right, so if the old foundation is cracking, what do you build a new world on top of? Well, this vision says we need a huge shift back to one single fundamental principle. At the absolute heart of this new civilization is this idea of the greatest creator. Now, it's super important to understand this is not a god in any religious sense. It's defined as the underlying order of the universe. You know, the laws of nature, the way things actually work. The whole point is to stop fighting nature and instead learn to live in tune with it.
And that leads directly to the ultimate goal. If you're following the way of nature, then the highest possible value, the guiding ethic, becomes harmony. And we're not just talking about people getting along. It's this total, multi-layered harmony between you and me, between us and our society, and between all of humanity and the natural world itself.
Okay, so this all sounds very philosophical, right? How does it actually change how we live day to day? Well, that's where this idea of the Chanyuan path and the second home comes in. It's a whole new practical model for living. This is the second home model in a nutshell. I mean, just think about this for a second. A society where your main purpose isn't just to make a living. Instead, your life is all about having meaningful experiences and making your own unique creative contribution. All the resources are shared, so the whole concept of owning things just goes away. The big goal here is to free every single person from that constant nagging anxiety about survival so you can just focus on living a full, joyful life.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. A huge global society with no money, no private property, and no government. How on earth does that not just fall into complete chaos?
It's the big question, isn't it? If there are no politicians, no CEOs, no bosses, then who is actually running the show?
The answer, according to this vision, is a very specific kind of artificial intelligence. But, and the text is crystal clear on this AI is not a ruler. It's described as a totally neutral, emotionless coordination system. It doesn't have its own goals, it has no personal interest, and it has zero authority like a human would. It's just a tool.
Its only job is logistics. It's basically the ultimate project manager. It handles the mind-bogglingly complex job of allocating all the resources fairly, coordinating production, and even figuring out where people live and when they move. It does all of this just to keep the whole system running smoothly for everyone. It's the manager, not the king.
So, if you have an AI that's perfectly managing all the logistics and resources for the good of everyone, what does that mean for all the old systems we invented to try and do that? Well, this is where the vision gets really, really radical.
And this slide says it all. The core institutions that define our world today, they just become obsolete. They naturally fade away. Nation-states, they're replaced by one global second home community. Money and private property, replaced by total access and AI coordination. Even things as fundamental as the family and organized religion are replaced by community-based upbringing and a set of shared universal ethics.
And this way of thinking goes deep into our personal lives, too. The vision lays out a complete redesign of relationships, all aimed at getting rid of things it sees as negative, like unhealthy attachment or dependency. And it leads to some pretty startling ideas. Children raised by the community who never know their biological fathers. Mothers raising their kids for just the first 3 years. No more celebrating birthdays. And even avoiding exclusive romantic relationships. Everyone even moves to a new place every 3 years to keep things fresh and build wider connections.
This quote from the text just perfectly sums up the whole economic idea. It's a total shift away from hoarding things for yourself and toward a system where everyone can access everything they need.
And why? Why go through all these massive, radical changes? This right here. This is the ultimate goal. The entire system, with all its strange and challenging ideas, is designed for one single purpose: to make sure every last person can live a happy, joyful, and truly free life.
So how does a transformation this huge even happen? I mean, is it a violent revolution? Is it forced on everybody? The vision has a very specific and pretty interesting answer. It's not about forcing anyone to do anything. The whole idea is based on what the text calls resonance. It's a path for people who just feel on a deep level that this is the right way to live. They choose it voluntarily. And this is a really critical part. What about the people who don't agree with this? The vision doesn't say you have to convert them or fight them. Instead, you just arrange for them to live in different parts of the world, building their own societies in their own way, and you just peacefully coexist. And so that's what we're left with. Is this a genuine blueprint for a future of true harmony? A way to finally solve humanity's oldest problems? Or is it a future that's just too far? One that asks us to give up too much of what we believe makes us human? The source lays out the path, but in the end, it leaves that massive question up to us.